afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is, you are in your right and perfect place. My name is Reverend Nickle Golden. I'm one of the co-ministers of Unity of Wilmington. Reverend Mindy Tucker is the other co-minister, and she will be giving the talk today. Terrill Williams is singing with us. We're really blessed. Our desire for you, our invitation to you is to open your hearts to Spirit today, to the divine, whatever word you use for God, to be able to open your hearts, open your arms, and allow yourself to be aware of all that you are, all that you've been called to be, and to know that you have the capacity within you to be just that. Let's bring our awareness into a time of prayer, tuning into that divine nature that we have that is always within us, always at work in us, whether we're aware of it or not. Coming into that knowingness of that movement of Spirit within us. We give thanks for this special day, for every day that we are awake and alive is a special day. We give thanks for the voice within us that leads and guides us into the next right steps. We give thanks for the very knowing that we are the place where God shows up, that when we show up, light shows up, that we make a difference in the world by our very beingness. And we give thanks. Amen.
Enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life. Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize that I'm not alone. There's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have the strength to do the things I know that are sometimes right? Will I have the health of mind and body to live this thing with grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize that I'm not alone, and I don't have to do this on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place, you are the place, we are the place where God shows up. I am the place, you are the place, we are the place where God shows up.
Thank you, Terrill. I got an email this week, and this email says, "If only are the two most dangerous words in the English language." And furthermore, the reason why they're the two most dangerous words in the English language is because they don't reveal, they mask the true cause of our unhappiness. Now, I used to take umbrage with emails like this because I would think, you don't know what I'm feeling. How dare you insinuate that A, I am unhappy, and B, that you know the cause of my unhappiness? The truth is, sometimes I am unhappy. And sometimes I'm happy, and sometimes I'm angry, and sometimes I'm scared, and sometimes I'm sad, and sometimes I'm just on fire with the passion for living. And I do agree that the words "if only" are dangerous because they do get in the way of us taking a look at what's really going on in the present moment. If only takes us out of real time and puts us into the past. It puts us into a position where we're looking outside for solutions. We're looking outside for answers. We're looking for our world outside of us to be different so that we can feel better about ourselves. So our work, our relationships, our spirituality, and pick one thing, our well-being. Pick any one of those things and say, my work would be better if only. My relationships would be better if only. My well-being and my health would be better if only, fill in the blank. If only takes us out of where we are and puts us in an unreal place because we're projecting outward. If only my past were different than my past actually was. As a young adult, I had a Unity minister that said, not even God can change the past. Not even God can change the past. However, we can feel differently about the experience of the past. So that's the part we have control over. How we feel about the past is a great way of reframing the present moment. How we feel about the past and how we feel about ourselves, that impacts the way we see all experiences. It impacts the way we see the world. So if only takes us out of the present moment, whereas in this moment, recognizing we have sovereignty, we have the right to choose, we have the right to go within, because that's where all transformation begins. All the shifts begin. How else will we know if we didn't go within? We've been looking at Living Big by Pam Grout, and in her book, Living Big, Pam Grout says this: therapists tell us that until we root out the deep, dark recesses of our unconscious minds, it's impossible to reach self-fulfillment. A fully realized person, they say, must dig for the hidden secrets that make him feel unworthy, must dive for the past cruelties inflicted by her parents. And I might add, the cruelties of the 9th grade choir teacher and the 5th grade language arts teacher and the abandonment of that first best friend and the ex-husband and the former supervisor, etc., 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 etc. So archaeology is an important spiritual practice, because how else are we going to know about the mistaken beliefs that we've been holding? How else are we going to know which paradigms to shift? How are we going to know which, if only, to let go of? Because this therapy or this practice of excavation, discovery, archaeology is one that brings us inwards. It brings it to an inside job so that we can begin to be be sovereign. One of the fundamental unity principle beliefs is that we are created in the image and likeness of God. And if that is true, which we believe it is, then we are one with God at all times. So follow the logic. If God is love, we are love. If God is understanding, we are understanding. If God is kindness and compassion, we are kindness and compassion. If God is audacious, if God is everything, if God is perfect, then wow, do we have the audacity to acknowledge that we are everything and we are perfect. God is divine, and therefore we are divine. In that oneness, we can have the courage to look inside to see what beliefs we're holding on to that keep us from experiencing the fullness of life, that keep us from whatever our dreams are or our desires. But we have to be willing to look inside, to come within, maybe even work with a spiritual counselor or a spiritual coach or a therapist, because that beginning archaeology, that beginning discovery is going to help us take a look at our conscious, our subconscious, and our superconscious minds to see where we are directing the energy of our attention. Attention is the currency of relationships. Attention is the currency of our well-being. Attention is the currency of our prosperity. And I say that with pun intended. Attention is the currency to whatever principle that we are looking at, to whatever part of our divinity that we're looking at, whatever thought and feeling we're looking at. The currency is attention. So think about a house plant. If we give attention to, if we give our energy to taking care of a house plant, what happens? The house plant grows. First of all, it lives. It lives when we give it attention by watering it and fertilizing it. And the same can be with our relationships. When we give attention to our relationships, we change the dynamic that's existing between us. When we give attention to our well-being, we change the molecular structure in our body. We change the expression of our perfect health. When we give attention to prosperity, it changes our experience of abundance. We see the world through different eyes. We see the abundance that's available to us because we've given attention to it. Now, I want you to be aware that the kind of attention we give something is really important. Many of you are familiar with Dr. Emoto's research that he started publishing in 2003 with water and looking at the crystal construct of water. And in his research, he found that positive attention creates structures and molecular visions of water that are perfect and beautiful and varied and sparkly. But when we give negative attention to water, negative attention, then those structures are misshapen. They're not fully formed. So the currency of our attention is everything, but so is the intention of that attention. It will affect our very body. It will affect our relationships. It will affect the way we view the world. And why don't we have a worldview that matches spiritual truth? Why don't we? Because somewhere in our upbringing, somewhere along the line, the process of growing up, we got off course. We got off purpose. We made somebody else's voice more important than ours. We made somebody else's actions and authority more important than ours. We made their priorities more important than ours, so much so that we may have forgotten our own divine nature, our own attitude of spirituality, our own sense of the sacred. So when I look at how we get off course as we are growing up, sometimes it's a traumatic event. For some of us, it's been a traumatic event that just knocks us off course, off kilter, off purpose. And if that is something that happened to you, I want you to hear that I'm sorry that that happened to you. I'm sorry, I am truly sorry that those events in your life occurred. But I also want you to know that I cannot begin to imagine the pain that came out of it, the loss of innocence that came out of it, and the feeling of being lost in an abyss that you may be experiencing. But I can tell you this, take a moment, and I'm going to invite everybody to just take a moment and put your hand over your heart and think of something that you appreciate. Something like a sunny day or cooler weather or a really good cup of coffee, ice cream. Think about the affection of another human being or an animal being, but think of one thing that you appreciate and hold that thought. Taking a breath, take a breath. Holding that thought in your mind and giving it to your heart. Take a breath. Take another breath of appreciation and repeat after me. I am here. I am here with a tenacity of spirit. I am here because I am strong in my purpose, stronger than anything that has happened in my past. I am here. And then give yourself a hug, the guaranteed hug of the day. For some of us, getting off course was a gradual drift. It happened one choice at a time, one decision at a time, and over time, pretty soon we had built a solid belief about this, or a solid belief about that, a box in which we can say, I'm right, and you're wrong. You're wrong, and I'm right. Saying that out loud today is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because I can look outside myself and see reflections of you're wrong and I'm right all over the place. Maybe it's because the election is coming up. Maybe it's because today our society is giving a greater awareness to racism and gender bias. Maybe it's because with the pandemic, we feel so out of control. We want to be in control, and we're looking to have control. And so our boxes have become more important than ever. You're right and I'm wrong is a box. And we paint ourselves into a box, not overnight, but one teaching, one observance, one thought, one belief, one feeling, one attitude at a time. And pretty soon, here we are in a box. Growing up is about expanding our worldview. Growing up is about seeing the world through a wider and wider and wider lens. It's about sloughing off what doesn't serve us. It's about sloughing off what doesn't match with the truth of us and that fundamental belief that we are one with God. We are divine. But but, that very limiting word in the English language, but we don't always feel that way. Growing up is about expanding our worldview so we can feel that way more and more of the time. When I think about growing up from infancy to adulthood to seniorhood to whateverhood, to that next experience, when I think about growing up, I think about my grandson. He's 7 months old, and his worldview is just starting to expand beyond ingesting, digesting, and other biological functions. My mother was a very wise woman, and my mother used to say that we, as we grow up, we're like little sponges, and we absorb what's in our environment. So we absorb the teachings, we absorb those observations, we absorb the thoughts and the feelings that are swirling all around us, so that one day, like today, in the present moment, we say, if only I could experience a peace that passes all understanding. If only I could feel better about myself so that I would be more secure in the world with everything, all the chaos, the upset, and the unknown that's going on all around me. If only I felt more spiritual. Because if I felt more spiritual, then everything could be fixed. If I felt more spiritual, if I had an attitude of spirituality, I would have the key to solve every problem. If I felt more spiritual, I mean, it's like, where did we get the idea that if we felt more spiritual? Okay, I'm messing with you. I know where we got the idea about feeling more spiritual. From ancient wisdom, because feeling spiritual is transcendent. Having an attitude of spirituality allows us to be one with super consciousness and express those attitudes of and attributes of the divine. When we're spiritual, it's so much easier. We're in the flow. So all the attributes of God are flowing through us. Generosity is flowing through us. Kindness is flowing through us. Audacity is flowing through us. Unity is based on and finds its philosophy and has sourced its philosophy and spiritual practice from mysticism. Hindu mysticism, Hindu tradition, teaches us that we have the capacity to be one with the eternal essence of the universe. We have the capacity to be one with super consciousness, and we have that and express and step into an outworking of that capacity when we engage in chanting and meditation. Now, in unity, we call that super consciousness, that eternal essence of the universe. We call that God mind. When we come into alignment with, when we remember our oneness with super consciousness, we have access to an internal spiritual guidance system. That's where our intuition comes from. That's what gives us the impetus and the root beliefs when we're in oneness with the super consciousness. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, read a little, meditate more, and think about God all the time. Oneness, super consciousness, God mind. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said the way to access, to be in the flow, to be one with God mind was through prayer, meditation, and good works. Good works are the way we put ourselves into action, the way we take what we've discerned in meditation, the way we've taken those affirmations about our oneness, about our pure potential. That's what Good works is the way we put it in action. It's the way we embody the divine. So I have some very big questions for you about embodying the divine. And they're questions that I want you to ask yourself for yourself. And here are the questions. Am I interested? Am I interested? This means you. In a greater sense of the sacred. Am I interested in a different experience of my past? Am I interested in thinking outside the box of being right and wrong? Am I interested in awakening? Wow, because coming into oneness, willingness to do this archaeology, this excavation, this discovery, it's all about awakening on a spiritual path. It's about using enlightenment to give us a broader worldview. It's about an ethereal experience of joy and love and peace, what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven. And it's about embodying the divine. So, am I interested in any of these things? Ask yourself, for yourself, not anybody else. Because the if-onlys will make us think we can change their behavior to make us feel better. But the only control, the only sovereignty that we actually have is within us. And it begins with thought. It begins with feeling differently. It begins with a willingness, an interest, and a willingness to embody the divine. Good works can be big, they can be small, they can happen all at once, or they can happen gradually over time. But good works begin with an action. They begin with a physical movement. They begin with moving from making the commitment in our mind and heart to actually bringing it into our body so that we can manifest something in the world. There's a woman in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Her name is Jody something. Begins with an S. Anyway, Jody has 28 children. 28. 27 of those 28 are adopted. And 17 of those 28 are still living at home with her. Jody is 49 years old. Her name is Swarbeck. Got it? She's 49 years old, and she's a single mom. Now, if that's not enough to blow your mind about a woman who is committed to good works, 27 of those 28 children are special needs. Special needs ranging from ADHD to muscular dystrophy to blindness to being born a crack baby to being born on another continent and coming to the United States with little or no English language capacity. And she's happy. She's happy because the work that she's chosen, the way she's chosen to express her holy purpose, the way that she has discovered to have a sense of the sacred, to think outside of somebody else's box, to embody the divine, is through the good works of bringing up these children and exposing them to a greater worldview. Now, I said before that good works begin with an action. Sometimes it's just a micro movement. Sometimes it's just a shift that we do. We have a physical shift before whatever else unfolds, before we demonstrate, before we manifest. Unity follows the teachings of Jesus, and before something big happened, when he wanted to have a big shift in consciousness, a big healing, if he wanted to have a big opportunity, when he wanted to make these big shifts for himself and for others, it began with a very small or very simple body movement. When Jesus got ready to start his ministry, he walked to Cana. He walked to Capernaum. He walked to Caesarea Philippi. He walked. He used his body to begin that shift in his way of being, that shift in consciousness. When the crowd wanted to stone the woman, Jesus bent down and he drew in the dirt. When the blind wanted to see, Jesus reached out and touched their eyes. When the woman, the bleeding woman in the crowd wanted healing, Jesus turned to her. When Jesus wanted to pray, when he wanted to come back into alignment with his oneness with the divine, he went apart. He said, I am going to come apart for a while. He physically separated himself from the consciousness of his disciples and the crowds. When his friend Lazarus died, Jesus used the movement of his voice, his mouth, his lips, that power to unleash his command to rise, to come out. Lazarus, come forth. Micro movements, physical movements, walking, bending, touching, turning, speaking. All of these are the way that we begin to embody the divine. We begin our journey to good works. So are you interested? Are you interested in a greater sense of the sacred, a different experience of your past? Are you interested in thinking outside the box of being right or wrong? Are you interested in awakening, in enlightenment, an ethereal experience? Are you interested in embodying the divine? Step one is to say, yes, I am interested and I am willing. Bada bing, bada boom. Step one. Step two is to meditate. Come into a conscious alignment with super conscious mind, with God mind. Sit yourself down. Release those filters. Release those stressors. Release those worries. And come back to source. Come back into a remembrance of your own oneness with God. Then step three is to pray, to affirm pure potential. Affirm your pure potential. Affirm my pure potential. Affirm our pure potential to embody the divine, to have that ethereal experience, to have that sense of the sacred. And the last step, step number 4 is to actually take those micro movements, to change the position you're sitting in. If you were crossed your legs on this side, cross your legs on that side. If you need to stretch your arms up, stretch your arms up. It could be a micro movement like that. Or it could be changing your writing from your dominant to your non-dominant hand. It could be dancing to express your emotions. It could be dancing to express your joy or your anger or your fear or your resentment. Dance it out. Clear the way for the embodiment of those attributes that we assign to God. Kindness, compassion, understanding, abundance, pure potential. And then lastly, celebrate. Celebrate the good works that you have been willing to engage in, one step at a time. Celebrate that you are continuing to grow in spirit. We're not growing up. How do I know that? I can still feel me. I can still feel and see the people around me. We are all growing together. And I celebrate our commitment to growth. All of this is doable. I can do it, you can do it, and we can do it together as a worldwide community. We can embody the divine. all those attributes of God. Have that sense of the sacred. Transcend our thinking from what we see is to pure potential. I have an affirmation for us to bring into meditation. It's this: I'm ready, willing, and able to embody an attitude of spirituality. I am ready, willing, and able to embody an attitude of spirituality. Ready, willing, and able. So I invite you to find a place, find a body position. If you've been sitting in a chair with your feet on the floor, pick your feet up for a moment and put them down, because that is already a signal to your mind and your heart that you are ready, willing, and able to embody the divine. Close your eyes. Take a moment. Breathe. Come into this experience remembering the appreciation that you have, the first one that came to your mind, the sunny day, the cooler weather, that really good cup of coffee, ice cream, the kindness of a human or animal being, and fill your cup with that appreciation. Fill your heart with that appreciation. Give your attention to the goodness of God. The goodness of God, that super consciousness that we have access to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 66 days a year. Oneness with all the attributes of God. Generosity, compassion, understanding, unconditional love, unlimited imagination, we are one with pure potential, the eternal essence of the universe. We've read a little, and now we are meditating more so that we can think about God all the time. God, God, God. In every thought, every feeling, every cell of our body, we have activated, we have embodied our divine nature. With faith, with love, with gratitude, we give thanks for our exquisite attention to our hearts, to our minds, to our healings, to the dynamics in our relationships, the well-being, to our abundance and our prosperity. The kingdom of God is within, and its expression moves through us in miraculous ways. For this attention and intention, we say thank you and bring our awareness back up into our body, back up into this time and place, back up into the light of the world, seeing the world with expanded worldview, with great anticipation and joy. We say thank you and amen.
Let yourself take a breath and move a little. And bring your attention, your awareness to your generosity. We have great gratitude for the generosity that you have showed us over the many, many months. And we continue to be grateful for that which will continue to come for as long as it needs to come, so that Unity of Wilmington can be a beacon of light in this world, so that you can be a beacon of light in this world, so that together, as we give, as we receive, and as we give, as we live in spiritual principle, we know that we are saying yes to life. We know that we are saying yes to abundance, and we are saying yes to the truth of who and what we are. There are many ways to give. You can mail us a check. You can use the donate button. You can donate on Facebook. You can call and Wendy will take your credit card. Whatever your choice, may that come from your heart, your inner guidance, and your inner knowing of how and who you are. Thank you.
Yes to life, I'm saying yes. Yes, yes to life, I'm saying yes. Yes, yes to life, I'm saying yes. Yes, yes, I'm saying yes to life. I'm saying yes to life. The spirit of love within me is expressing itself right now. The spirit of joy within me is expressing itself right now. What are we gonna create today? The universe is ready to play. The spirit is willing to lead the way if you just say yes. I'm saying yes, yes, yes to life. I'm saying yes, yes, yes to life. I'm saying yes, yes, yes to life. I'm saying yes, yes, yes. Oh, I'm saying yes to life. Right now, I'm saying yes to life. The spirit of life within me is expressing itself right now. The spirit of life within me is expressing itself right now. Whatsoever you can conceive, if you believe it, you can achieve. The spirit will always willing to agree with you. Just say yes. Ooh, I'm saying yes, yes, yes to life. I'm saying yes, yes, yes to life. I'm saying yes, yes, yes to life. I'm saying yes, yes, yes. I'm saying yes to life. I'm saying yes to life right now. I'm saying yes, yes. I'm saying yes to life.
That's
Yes,
wonderful.
me too. That was Terrill Williams, Paul Williams. Paul Miller is on the piano. Thank you for being with us today. What a pleasure to be in your presence. I can feel your presence across the waves. Today's daily word is faith, something that as we stand in, it assists us in moving forward. The affirmation is, with faith, nothing is impossible for me. Let's say it together. With faith, nothing is impossible to me.
Well, faith is another word for God, isn't it?
Yes, it
With
is.
God, nothing is impossible. If you are looking for prayer support for saying yes to life, for standing in your faith, for being one with super consciousness, we are honored to pray with you, and we have a number of ways to connect in prayer right on the screen behind me. You can email Reverend Nikki at revnickygolden@gmail.com. You can call our office, 910-763-5155. Know that we are with you. We are with you. We are here with you.
And we have 3 things that we share with you each week. They're dear to our hearts, but more than that, they're a truth that we know that when we live them, they take us to a new level of our spirituality. And the first one is, you are a beloved expression of God.
You are here for a holy purpose.
You are in the right place at the right time, right now.
Take those 3 truths and add them to today's affirmation. I am ready, willing, and able to embody the divine, to have that sense of the sacred, to have an ethereal experience of joy, love, and peace. God bless you.